I kind of want to talk about channeling, but I feel like something more than that wants to come through as well. So I'm
Sure.
just go with the flow, but you'll probably notice, I don't know how often you do this, Laurie, but I find that as soon as I set the intention to make a video or something for a larger audience, like the collective messages really start coming through strongly.
Oh, no,
That might
it
happen, it
doesn't.
might not happen, but yeah, you might notice a shift. It'll start to get less focused on people, or it'll be a person representing the collective, which is really interesting. So I thought maybe we could just have a chat about, how we channel and what it means to be channeling at this time. And I'd love to ask you about like your healing and stuff like that too. But to be honest, I haven't really prepared anything. I'm just kind of happy to just see how it flows, if that's all right
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, I feel that that's the way it should go.
Okay, cool. Thank
It's
you,
just got
Laurie.
to be natural, like a conversation, I think, because that's how you and I have always interacted. So,
Yeah, awesome. So,
mm.
okay. So I'm already recording. I don't know when I'll start it from. Maybe
Yep.
I'll but okay. So Laurie, you've just facilitated an incredible healing for a group of us online over Zoom. You've led us through a meditation, that you've allowed us to heal ourselves. Your guides have come in, you've used all your spiritual technology, and we're all just flying high and beaming at the moment. We're so grateful to you. And it's really making me think about when we first met, which was over Zoom as
Yeah.
well, when we were doing readings for each other. Your beautiful wife, Michelle, and I had been swapping readings, and then she booked a reading for you too. And I remember when I first met you, you were sitting kind of off to the side and you weren't making a lot of eye contact. You were kind of like hunched over with your head down. I was like, does this guy not want to be here? Who's this? And then you started speaking up, and the way you like sat up and unfolded, like almost knocked me over with like you were saying before, sometimes you're not as sensitive with like the details, like you say, you've got tradie hands, but when you do feel, it's ferocious, as you
Yeah.
say, it's profound, it's lion-like. And you brought through a message from Archangel Michael for me, and we were both sobbing, and that's how we met.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi,
Um,
I'm Laurie. I cry a lot. Yeah.
yeah. So, Laurie Douglas, we've both been on this channeling journey together. We both do readings. You're an absolutely masterful healer who's guided by your guides, really. Do you want to
Mm.
tell us a little bit about how you even knew that you could channel or how you came into this?
Um, so my lovely wife Michelle, who seems to be connecting me with all these amazing people, started to wake me up. And it all came from a clairvoyancy reading where they said she was a healer. And I now know at the time I wasn't ready to hear that I was a healer as well. But they gave me a task and they said, right, your job is to go and make the money to support Michelle so that she can help heal the world. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. That means I'm just like the lieutenant. I can live with that. And off I go. And I was doing well in business and all that sort of stuff. And then I got very ill and it wasn't going well for me. And I don't want to like dramatize it because it's over and it's done and I'm healthy now and stuff. But yeah, I nearly died. And during that, Michelle came to me, and I'm by the way, I'm not anti-medicine or anything like that because I know people ask me that sort of stuff all the time. Mechanical medicine today is a miracle. It really is. And I was during surgery, I had a really adverse reaction, and they didn't put the cannula in properly. So they were under medicating me, then over medicating me, and it just didn't go well. And anyway, Michelle comes in and puts this big protective bubble around me. And it was the first time I've ever experienced telepathy. And we had a full-blown conversation, and she calmed me right down, and everything was going to be okay. And when I came out of that, I recognized my grandmother next to me, who's passed. And then I started seeing a few other things as time went on. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then the news came from you that oh no, you're a healer and you're this. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And I'm just sitting there in the background going, and then I'm trying not to cry because I've never felt this feeling before. And it's no disrespect to my kids or anything, but the greatest love I've ever felt was when you first hold your baby and you're just like, oh, this connection. You're like, holy smoke. Well, sorry to say, Joe and Ethan, but you pale in comparison to Archangel Michael because he come in and it was, right. I used to play rugby in New Zealand as a terrible player, by the way. I was for my size, I was quite quite well, average, shall we say. And mate, it hit me that hard. It really hit me. And I'd never felt that sort of feeling before, and I couldn't control it. I literally couldn't stop it. I'm like, what's going on? And that's why I was hunched over. And then when I had to say something, I knew I had to say it. I can still, all the channelings and stuff, I forget them like a day or so later, but I can still remember the one to you I can share if you don't mind, which was, Kelly, you can live a life in black and white or you can live in color. It's up to you. And I just started bawling my eyes out and stuff. And I knew that was a message for me as well. And it's just like step out from the shadows. Stop putting Michelle out in front. You can run this race too. And ever since then, it's just about getting confidence and stuff. And then thought, oh, I'll try this Facebook thing, give it a go, put it out there. And I've had nothing but support. Now, all the people in the judo community, they come to me, oh, so you're this woo woo guy. Yeah. Oh, what's that? And lo and behold, I'd say probably 80% of the people that come to me are like, oh, I'm really curious. Can you teach me this? And it's just given me the confidence to go on, and on. Yeah. But I have to admit, my ego still kicks in. Like the reading we did earlier today, I was channeling while I was healing. And I'm like, is this real? But then I see how you do it and it flows so beautifully and naturally. I'm like, no, no, I can be confident. I'll just be like Kelly. I'll just I'll just be willing to be wrong, be willing to be seen as crazy and give it a go. And I've never missed yet. And I will one day, I'm sure I'll get it wrong. Something will happen. But it's like you taught me. So long as I do it with pure intent and there's always love in my heart when I do it, I that kind of gives me reassurance that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. Because no
Oh,
one wants to get it wrong. Oh God, I'd hate to do something terrible for somebody.
yeah, I have all these protocols around like, let only love come through, strike me down if I get it wrong. But, we're still human and we have egos and there's a lot out there that wants to trick you. And I feel like we're very protected from that and very discerning. And I don't want to give that too much attention or time. But I definitely understand that fear of like, what if I'm making this up? What if I'm yeah, gonna give someone bad advice, or even like, how do I get someone to believe me or trust it if I do feel so confident about it, but it's so far removed from what they're expecting and what they want to be told. But yeah, you just have to keep going limp, right? And go, look, it's out of my hands. Like, I'm just the conduit. I'm not doing this for recognition. I'm not doing this because I want to be the person who got it right. I'm doing this because something needed to be shared. And
Mm.
today I was that person to share that and just relaxing into that and letting go of ego, I guess. It's just
Yeah, I think the biggest reward for me, because as you know, you can't get rich in this game or anything. We don't do it for the money. Well, maybe you can. We just haven't figured it out yet. But um, I think the biggest thing for me is sometimes the crazier it sounds, the more profound that message is for that person. And when they say thank you, and oh, I was thinking that, but I hadn't got around to asking you that yet. And you're like, oh, okay, I was afraid I was off on a tangent. And then next thing you know, it's all perfect. And you're like, what's going on here? And that's when you realize that, okay, yeah, I'm this meat sack running around, still attached to the angels or divine source or whoever comes through at the time, right? It could be your ancestors, it could be anyone. And you just accept the fact that, okay, I'm just this conduit. And I'm very lucky though, in the sense that I have this massive healing ability. I just have this giant capacity to absorb energy, transmute it, and then give it out. And It was you that made me aware that I could heal a stadium full of people.
Mm.
And not that I've tried that, but I'm trying to expand now. And sure enough, I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger audiences and stuff. And it seems to be working. I haven't dropped the ball yet. So,
I was
but
going to
it's
ask you about that because I'm very new to healing. I'm not trained in any healing modalities. Whenever I do that kind of stuff, it's just intuitive, like put white light around my kids, give someone a healing hug, kiss the scratch better, that kind of thing. Does healing move through you like channeling? How is that different or the same? How does that work for you?
okay. So for me, I have this inner knowing. So all my clears fire up. So for anyone who's new to this, you have clear audience, clear sentience, clairvoyance, clear cognizance. Anyway, I sometimes, if I'm, so with your Patreon group, for example, with the 144,000 lines of light, right? They're very, very powerful beings in that group. And so I've learnt that my layer of protection needs to be much higher when I'm with that group.
Hmm.
So when you're talking about that white bubble and stuff, I don't put a bubble in anymore. I'm not sure if anyone's watched the movie, what is it? The one based in Egypt and everything, and they travel, Stargate.
Okay, I haven't seen
So
that.
these alien craft come over and they can send down these golden rings and it teleports them up to the ship and stuff. So I literally see that coming down and then they put a vertical grid around me as well. And I have to do that when I'm with your group because well, there's two people in there with dragon energy, for example. I won't name any names, but there's some very cool people, mate. Very, very powerful. And
Hmm.
they were getting through my defenses. And that's when I realized my clear um empath basically was kicking in. I was getting massive pains in the hip and then one in the shoulder, and three people in the group needed, energetic shoulder surgery. So we just did it. So that sort of kicks in. But then I have this knowing of what it is. And then the other one, the clairvoyancy thing, what happens is I call a person's energy in. Once I'm shielded up and protected, I call their energy in and they show me things. And it's quite often symbolic. So in the group healing today, they showed me a clock with it was like it was out of Back to the Future, like an old clock with a stick of dynamite to it. So it was like it was a ticking time bomb willing to go off. And so I pulled those out of three people in the group, and I saw one or two of them nodding their head, going, "Yep, yep, I got a niggle there, got a pain there." And it was just so that's what they show me. So I literally just pull those things out. So it's not that I'm actually pulling something out of them. I'm pulling something out of their energy field. And they show me those distortions, but they show them in symbols for me. And then they give me the ability to do those. And I've got to be very careful because I did a healing on a guy and it was full of filing cabinets, and I pulled all these files out and I just put them on the floor next to me. And it was in this healing group that I volunteer in, right? And there's this woman in there. I won't name names. She's a lovely, lovely lady. She's a very powerful clairvoyant. And she's like, "What are you doing? You've left all these filing cabinets on my floor." And I'm like, "Can you see those?" She goes, "Yeah." And I've learnt now. Okay, I've got to light my little fire. So I have this energetic fire next to me. So if I pull things out, they burn in the fire. And then instead of ash coming up, it transmutes into, and I just imagine it's white light or butterflies, and it's transmuted to love now. And I return that energy back to the universe, transmuted in a positive sense.
Mm.
So that's how I deal with that sort of stuff.
No, I've got a question, and I feel like some people watching this and playing along might have this question too. So I'm asking it more on behalf of a group of people, but it sounds like, and this is my experience too, so much of the superpowers and psychic ability and all of that that comes through lies in the power of what we call imagination, right? Like we go on a meditation, we visualize things happening, we visualize healing. And it's very real and palpable because other people can see it too, and this has been even proven in scientific studies. People can see the same things, whether it's literally an object in the astral or in another dimension or something that information we're sharing. But what does this tell us about the power of our imagination as well, and like what we can manifest and what we can create and what we can heal simply by sitting down to focus on it and see it? Then like that to me blows me away. That to me is like we're all so much more powerful than we realize, and we've been spending lifetimes, millennia, downplaying imagination as just your imagination, when in fact what we're playing with is more of us, more reality, more arms and legs and power and being. It's just an extension of us, and it's really happening. Like, how do you feel when you're entering into these like visual spheres? And because your third eye is much more open than mine too, like how does imagination and like reality overlap for you, or are they one and the same? And you also get like symbolic imagery around healing. Would you mind saying anything about that?
Yeah, sure. So yes, it is an imagination, but it's you got to come from it from the childlike innocence of play, right? So we're all born from a human being, but we are still spiritual. And they say up until the age of 7, children are still very, very connected to the other side. So how do we explain that? Whether you have competing views from parents or the community around you or religion, because some religions praise what we can do and others don't. And I'm not having a go at religion, it's just a belief structure, right? And so long as you're doing good things for people, I don't see a problem with it. But in order for us to put it in a cubbyhole or a box or something, go, oh, you're over here and you're over here and that's over there, we have to explain things away. Whereas we should have kept that innocence of a child, and instead of explaining it away, just keep asking why. So when I see things and stuff, I go, why is this here? What does it represent? And then if I don't get an immediate answer or my ego's in the way because I'm in disbelief for going, what are you showing me a ticking time bomb for? So then I can muscle test, and there's all sorts of different ways, kinesiology, um, oh, the ring and ring. There's so many different versions. And I'll just start yes, no questions to get myself back into the groove. And so my yes, no questions are, if anyone who's done journalism at university or English like you have, doctor like you are,
Yeah.
um, it's interesting, isn't it? You've got a doctorate in your left brain, and then the right brain is the one that's really kicking in now. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
another subject. Yeah, me, I was a policeman in a previous career, which is very left brain, right? And
Yeah.
then now yeah. But anyway, I
Just
asked them
evidence that we're not completely delusional, right? We're high functioning enough to work in these very
yeah,
demanding fields.
high functioning, yes.
And then wise enough to leave them, right?
Oh, exactly, exactly. Um, oh yeah, so at uni I was taught, 5W plus H would get you the answer in journalism. What, when, why, how, who, and where. I think I got all of them. And so I just start with that basis. I actually start to interview my guides. What are you showing me? Okay, why is it here? And then they'll start telling me the story. And then I always ask, is it ancestral? Is it current life generated? Is it past life generated? And is it genetic? Now, there's a difference between genetics and ancestral. From my perspective, I'm talking. So, our soul is eternal. So, as our soul experiences all these different incarnations, sometimes it can bring the energy from an old incarnation in. So, that's a past life thing. You have ancestral trauma, which is I think it's a fascinating subject, to be honest, because if someone is healed now, like let's say I healed you right now for something, all the generations before you are then healed as well, because I'm healing that genetic line.
Hmm.
But ancestral trauma is slightly different. And I can't quite quantify it with words at the moment, but it is just there's just a slight nuance there. It's less related to the or like I referred the meat sack, it's less related to the physical body that you've incarnated to now. And I've done healings on people where I thought I was healing this woman once, and I ended up healing her sister, her father, her grandfather, and her great grandfather. They all had a history. With her, it was something in her brain, but it was a wiring problem, right? So it was a short circuit. But for her sister and her father and so on and so forth, it was in their heart, right? And so the father, I didn't know, had five stints in the heart and all sorts of stuff, and had to have a sleep every single day. This healing was about 6 months ago. He hasn't had an afternoon nap since, and I wasn't even working on him. So this is where I get really excited about how, our potential works. Um, but the caveat in that is the person must be wanting to heal. So unfortunately, I didn't heal her. I helped her out. The headaches are gone and stuff like that. But she's got this program running. And it's like, no, I'd rather take the hit than everybody else. I'd rather be the sacrificial lamb so everyone else can be happy. Now, that programming is so strong, I could remove it, but she's withdrawn now and gone, no, no, I'm okay.
Mm.
So I have to learn to let that go. And that's where it breaks my heart, is because there's a lot of us healers out there. I'm not the only one, but we have to just do what they tell us to do. Everything is consensual, and you never know when someone's number is up, if I put it, flippantly like that. We
Mm.
all come down with soul contracts, and we all have certain exit points. And sometimes you take an early one, and sometimes you take a late one. And we're not allowed to interfere with that.
Mm.
And that's the hardest news to give people. Just like, so I don't give that news. I never give any like doomsday stuff. I just live in that whole no judgment, no victims rule. Don't victimize someone by telling them too much stuff, but don't be a victim yourself by trying to take on that stuff. It's their path, their journey. You just help where you can, and then you step back. And then don't judge them for it. Because man, that can weigh on you pretty hard, when all you want to do is help and they reject it.
Mm.
Yeah.
If I ever say to you that I'm like praying or sure that things are going to work out the way they're meant to work out, it's because I looked into your future and an outcome you didn't want was like very set in stone.
Yeah.
We'll say like pray for this, pray for that, and I go into it and the guide's like, no, 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 that's not happening. I'll be like, oh, well, can it all get people to where they need to be eventually? And they'll usually say yes. They're on their path, they're on their track, but they're going to be disappointed or annoyed or hurt in this short-term period. I'm like, okay. And then I'll usually pass on something like, well, I hope it's all for your highest good. Or like, I'm praying for your highest good. I'm praying for your ultimate healing. And usually, if I pray something like that, it's because things aren't going to go the way your ego wanted them to in that moment. And sometimes you're right. That does mean sometimes that people will choose not to heal in that time. And actually, I feel called to share something that came through in our call just before, Laurie, if you don't mind. But for those of you who are feeling stuck in your healing journey or seeing people around you who maybe seem unwilling to budge in their healing, something that came through really strongly today that really resonated and I thought was really beautiful is that sometimes or all the time, I'm hearing, we need to forgive in order to heal. And, that line, the body keeps the score. It's because you want the illness or the disease in your body as evidence for something that's happened to you, as evidence of your overwork, as evidence of how much energy you give, of evidence of someone having hurt you or your family. We cling to these symptoms as a kind of evidence for what's happened to us so that we can hold ourselves up as victims, or even as just a kind of record, as like a living document, right? But when we can forgive and say, you know what, I don't need to prove what you've done to me. I don't need to experience this anymore. I release you and myself from whatever's happened. And that can be ancestral, genetic, be something that's happened to you in your lifetime. The body doesn't need to keep the score anymore, and you can let it go and you can heal. And because what happens when we heal is we give people evidence of how well we're doing, of how prosperous we are, of how happy we are. But how can we be mad at somebody for hurting us once upon a time if we're so happy now? And the point is, you can't be anymore. It's like it all worked out the way it was meant to work out. You got what you needed to, you left behind. It doesn't affect you anymore. You don't get to carry around that trauma anymore. And that's a beautiful healing thing, but it involves forgiveness and mercy and being reminded too that when we forgive someone else, we're also forgiving ourselves.
They were just telling me that. They said, make sure she points that bit out.
Yes. I love how often we're tuned in to the same thing. Like
Yeah.
that's another super validating thing. And you think at this point we wouldn't need validation anymore, but when I'm channeling something and then you say it, I'm like, yeah, cool.
Oh,
That's
yeah. We're just as insecure as everybody else.
I
Yeah,
went.
I think I 100% agree with you. I think so. If we go back a step to, when I say I see something and then I ask the questions, one of the other questions I always ask is it's one of three options normally. Is it an emotional problem that I see? Is it a belief structure thing that I see? Or is it a spiritual structure thing that I see? Or oh, no, there is a fourth one. Is it environmental? Meaning it's something they've absorbed in this life from, because some people do have terrible, terrible parents and upbringings and stuff. And when I can understand where it comes from, then I can go, okay, well, this is what, and then for some reason, talking about it to them, they can then identify with it. And this ties into what you're saying about, I've got to keep a physical record of it. Yeah, I can show you my scars, therefore I've earned it. And
Mm,
they're reminding me of, oh, yeah, well, you had to justify how come you're a woo-woo guy through your near-death experience. I'm like, yeah, good point. Okay. I'll drop that now. It's out there in the ether. So
yeah, we
um
can let it go.
yeah, but
Sail.
the point is this, I've also had to overcome a lot of healing and clearings and stuff, and my wife has been wonderful for that. You've also been wonderful for that as well. And there's two things that come to mind. One is you have to stop the old ego and programming, like no pain, no gain, all those sorts of things. So anyone who pours cold water on the idea of doing affirmations to try and reprogram your brain, then you stop listening to that person because those affirmations actually do help. You say it enough times, it will actually happen because that's how society has programmed you, right? They've told you so many times that you're not worth something that you eventually believe it. So you counter that with your own affirmation. And then the other thing is the forgiveness. And I think forgiveness is often confused and it's put out there on all these different TV shows and all that sort of stuff. It's not about condoning anything. It's about, okay, I acknowledge that I was part of the lesson that needed to be learnt and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I forgive myself for anything that's happened and for being a co-conspirator in that. Whether you were the offender, the victim, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you let it go and you move on because you literally can't go back and change it. There is no point because then the lesson is lost.
Hmm,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. I see these. They're not even, I'm not that enlightened. They're talking through me again.
It's
I'm
funny.
learning.
It's funny how something that I feel like mentioning too is when I'm tuned into a person's energy and we're connecting and there's, mutual consent and all of that. It's like I get to borrow their superpowers for a moment. It's like all of a sudden I get to experience the world as they experience it. It must be an empath thing, but I get to see what they see. I get to do what they do. And even just talking to you now, I'm seeing this just magnificent glow around you, Laurie, like just so bright. And it's getting kind of trippy where it's almost like the depth between your head and the curtain keeps expanding and contracting for me. And I'm just seeing this like white halo around your head. And yeah, anyway, it's just so beautiful. And channeling for the group is so interesting because I would have thought that I'd be completely exhausted trying to channel for so many people at once and going back like your higher self, your higher self, your guide. Here's an angel message for everybody. But it's actually so energizing because I'm not extending my own energy. It's not my own effort. I connect into somebody or I connect into a source. And it's literally their energy coming through me that they're letting me read that energy because information is energy. And so it's like I get plugged into their power system or I plug into their socket. And something I've been learning is how to do that without stealing anybody's energy or draining anybody, because some people are very sensitive to that. You can accidentally do that. So I try to put protocols in place to make sure that's always returned to them, that's always gentle, that it's always a healing experience for everybody involved. But it's such a gift being able to channel, which seems to me inevitably tied to empathy, to
Mm.
be able to love them and be willing, even if just for a couple of minutes, to see the world through their eyes, to feel what they feel. And I feel like even the act of facilitating that must be a kind of healing, unifying, forgiving process. Because again, you can't channel it all without acknowledging that we are all part of the same quantum makeup in the same field, and that we are all in essence tied to each other, that we are all one, and that we do all have access to this on some level. Whether it comes to some more easily than others, we can all channel, and we all do channel. And being able to surrender into that and trust, yes, I am one with the universe and I can hear this and I can see people and it moves through me. It brings us closer together. It
Oh,
dissolves the gap between you and me.
oh, absolutely. And I think um, it's rather ironic that technology is enabling the global village to be literally a village, but it is also disconnecting a lot of people as well. And because they don't go outside and just talk to their neighbor. They can have 1,000 friends on Facebook from, 20 different countries, and they don't even know their neighbor's name. And that's sad because, look, I'm not saying you should all go out there and, go hug your neighbor, but that human connection thing, that's something our spirit guides talk about constantly, is about our ability and our capacity for love and empathy is so vast that we're absolutely essentially required in the universe. I know you've channeled it, I've channeled it before and everything. It's just like, that's why we're going through what we're going through at the moment with the upheaval on the planet. It's because we have to change direction. And if I could paraphrase you from our Patreon group a wee while ago when you were channeling about Atlantis, and that stuck with me, which is we have free will. It's one of the most important things that was gifted to us. And there's a contract from our galactic friends and everything. They won't interfere unless it's absolutely necessary. And they're here now because it is necessary. But they kept reminding us through you that everything's okay. Don't get caught up in the play. Don't get caught up in all the other stuff that's going on. It's basically all smoke and mirrors because they have contracts. They've come in and our galactic friends are honoring those contracts. And there's people like yourself, me, literally thousands and thousands of others that are here to help through our channeling, through our healing, whatever is needed. We're here to help. So I think it's a I'm gonna sound like a real hippie now, I want to sing peace and love and everything, but it literally is the answer. If you don't connect with fellow humans and love your neighbor and love your friends and reach out, then we are doomed.
Mm,
Not as a planet, but as a species.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go on about it too much because
I
it's just something that's been really resonating. We had a lot of angels come into our call earlier today. That's not by accident. The strongest message every single angel I've ever channeled has always been love. We're here for you. We love you.
yeah. I'm actually feeling a message come through at the moment, but first of all, I just wanted to say and acknowledge that Laurie isn't the kind of person who would just preach this. Like he lives this in his everyday life. You know, he used to be a policeman. He's, you know, a judo instructor. He's a healer. But even outside of his career and his profession, which has always been motivated by love for his fellow man and being able to stand up for people, you just live your life in this way. I mean, the first time that Laurie and I ever met in person, he rocked up at my new place with a bed and kitchen stuff and a bike that he'd done up. And he and his beautiful wife and his dad just rocked up. Here's some stuff you need. Put the bed together. Here's some toys for your kids. All right, big hug. See you later. You know, and it's just, it's not a big grand gesture from your point of view. For me, it's life changing. For me, it's I have a bed now. Like my kids have a nice space where they can come over to their new house and feel a little bit more comfortable, a little less scared. Here's this big, beautiful, smiling face in the house who's blessed me with his presence. But for you, you're just like, that's what you do. This is how we live. This is how we live our lives. And I just want to acknowledge that because I know it's very easy for anybody to jump up and say, love and light, you know, let's all love each other. And then you go back to your kind of, you know, begrudging little life and you forget that. But it moves through you. You know, you exude it. You can't help but live your life that way. And it's almost like it's happened in reverse for you. It's like you live that life, your life that way, and now you can talk about it, you know?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, thank you for that. But for me, I just felt I needed to do it because, I went through a period where I was separating and stuff. And, I'm thankfully now in the best place ever. But before I got to that, there was some lessons to learn. And those lessons were hard. I was homeless for a while, stuff like that. And then this sense of pride kicks in. And I'm meaning pride in the worst way. I didn't want to reach out, didn't want to tell my friends how bad it was. I had a couple of friends and they let me couch surf and stuff, and I was sleeping in the back of my car, which was a lease, and I nearly lost that. There was all sorts of stuff, and I just don't want to see anyone else go through that.
Yeah.
So if I can step up, and by the way, you brought your own mattress and everything, you got to take some credit too. I just turned up and made the frame and a bunch of other stuff, but it's just one of those weird things where it's just like, yeah, I've been there. No, that sucked. Here you go. I'll help out. It's for me, it seems that simple.
Yeah. And it's an energy that you bring to everything you do. And I'm really excited to see how that just keeps coming back to you too, because it's something that sorry, hang on a sec.
Yeah, I know. I
So
could see
many
it.
messages come through. Yeah, I know. It's like it's a message for everybody, but Laurie, you're really like leading the charge here. And there are a lot of people listening to this who really want to channel, who know that they have these gifts within them. And all our angels just want to tell them to keep leaning into love, keep leaning into that peace and love energy, because that's what unlocks everything. That's what sets everything free. And that fills up all the space so that you can't even be bothered carrying around this baggage anymore. So you can't even be bothered carrying around your stories anymore. These angels are here just helping fill you with love and helping you connect with that loving energy. And once you feel that loving energy, once you let that light into your heart, it doesn't leave you again. It's always close by after that.
Mm.
You never have to be without that loving feeling. And there are so many people who are just so close to that, like they can feel the light, they can feel the warmth of that, and they just need to give up and just fall into it. And as soon as that happens, I'll see the way that everything flows through them, the way the gifts come online, the way that the truth seems so clear to them when they can feel it as the feeling of love moving through them. And for you, Laurie, you're leading the charge on this. And it's like I'm seeing you almost with like a bridal veil of like this white light trailing behind you. Da, 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 da. Pay to see that. Laurie with this bridal, like this trail of white light behind you, and people are getting a whiff of that and they're following this trail that you're leaving behind. And the thing is, the yard posts have shifted. So it used to be that people wanted particular gifts so that they could do certain things, so they could find out what they're capable of. Maybe it seems like a fun profession. It was all characterized within the confines of life as we knew it. But life as we know it is not what we know anymore. And what you're doing, Laurie, is you're waking people up to all this love and this ability within them. And you're saying, no, you're not staying in this world anymore. You're not going to suffuse all that love and light and angelic potential in this matrix that doesn't exist anymore. And you're just continuing to walk that way. And people are being invited to follow you that way. And so it might feel to people a little, you might feel a bit lost. You might think, well, okay, so I have this gift, I have this ability, I know I have some way to help, but I don't know what to do with that. And your angels want to validate that for you and say, that's because Earth doesn't exist anymore. Earth as you existed isn't there anymore. What you're doing with these gifts is so much more potential out there. And I think that's why so many of us have to become entrepreneurs and freelancers, because we're inventing a new economy, a new potential without a ceiling and without a limit. And as we move this way, we're finding out we don't even have to stay on the planet with this ability anymore. Like, not only do we have a more expanded and bright Earth with so much more potential and possibility, but we don't even have to stay on the planet anymore. And this is becoming clearer and clearer with every day that goes by. You know, you can take that metaphorically, you can take that in terms of like astral travel, which is very real, but you can also take it absolutely literally, which is that humanity is getting off the planet. And if you want to join people out there in the galaxy, if you want to be, you know, maybe you're a lecturer in communications and you're going to start teaching telepathy and how to communicate non-verbally, because that's where we are headed. And that's what the challenges for us will be down the road. How to communicate with beings who don't have mouths, who don't speak English, who read your energy. And so if your energy and your words aren't aligned, they're going to see you as quite a disjointed, confusing, poor communicator. You know, there's so much that we can do with everything opening up to us, and it's all going to be normal one day. So if you're feeling lost and you don't know where you're going and you want a plan before you leap or before you surrender into that love and your ability, I'm just going to tell you that plan is not going to be clear. You'll get steps, but it's just going to keep expanding and opening up, and there's no frame of reference yet for what's coming. All we can do is just trust that if we hold that energy of love, love follows us and finds us everywhere we go. And again, it just keeps coming back to love, doesn't it? We've got all this cool stuff to talk about, like economies rising and falling, and ET disclosure, and the future of healing, and what it means for humanity. But it all keeps coming back to love.
It does. And so there's two things that they're reminding me of. I hope you can still hear me, because being Queensland, mate, the storm's coming. It's bloody loud out there. Um, the big thing is, don't get overwhelmed. That's the message one, is don't get overwhelmed, because a lot of the chaos that's happening is happening around you, not to you. So there's an important distinction to be had there. Geez, I'm sounding all authoritative because it's coming through me again. And the other is, yes, love is the answer, because love actually has the ability to transmute negative energy. Love itself can heal. So we actually can heal ourselves technically.
Yes.
It's just whether or not you believe in it or not. And I'm not the first to preach this. You know, there's a litany of people that teach that. But the other thing too, I think, just if I add my little bit of ego in it, is as you start, as we were talking earlier, like right at the start, probably before this recording, is that parts of your ego will naturally have to die. So I can remember Dr. Bruce Lipton and who's the guy that healed himself? I feel so terrible not knowing his name. He's so iconic.
I can stick it in the comments.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll do that. They talk about, in order for you to be what you want to be, the old you must die first. You must alter your frequency and change to the new you that's coming. Now, that sounds daunting, right? It's like, what do you mean I got to kill myself? Because a lot of people take it literally. Do I have to kill myself? What's going on? It's like, no, 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 no. Just old aspects of you. If you imagine you're a jigsaw puzzle, you just pull pieces out and you replace it with the new bits. And if those new bits are based on a foundation of love and light, you're going to be fine. It's literally can be that simple. And eventually what happens is your entire DNA takes up that love and light that you've replaced the parts with. And you're never going to be given more than you can cope with, is the other part of the message that they're just telling me now. And they're referring me to the example with you. When you first channeled and said, oh, you're the only one on this planet, Laurie, that's been given this off-world machine. And you can literally heal cities with it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I needed that answer because it was external to me. Right. So over the last few months, I've been trying to play with this machine and grounding myself in different ways. And you've been teaching me and I've been reading and we've been doing all these different things together. And then eventually I started to listen to Michelle and she say, you are the machine, you are that. And she's been telling me that for months. And then this is going to be bad because Michelle better not watch this recording because it's not that I didn't believe her. You channeled today, said, Laurie, you are the machine. And I went, oh, I'm the machine. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
closest person in your life,
Yeah,
pain. I just like, I
exactly.
already told you that. But
Yeah. But the reason I'm telling the story is not so you can all laugh at me. It's so that you can resonate with it and go, oh, okay. When you're ready to receive the message, you will. So it's rather a daunting thing. Now, I know there are plenty of extremely capable healers out there. It's no ego or anything on my part to think I'm the only one. Yes, I'm the only one who heals in this particular way. And it's this giant activating crystal inside me, right? That can actually, and as you put it, I can actually be one of the few people that can heal a healer. Right. So it doesn't mean to say I'm only going to heal healers. I'll heal whoever comes in front of me. I just want to help that much. But in order for me to believe that, I had to first take the first step and go, oh, okay, it's external to me. That's fine. I'll just carry this machine with me. And then I'm looking for the machine because I've got a very good third eye and I can't see the thing anywhere. And then one day I thought, I wonder what it'd be like if I actually called my own energies in. And then lo and behold, the bloody thing's right there in my chest cavity. I'm like, I'm looking at it like a pervert. I'm trying to look everywhere around this thing, go, what's going on? Because it's something like it looks metallic, but it's not. It's definitely not of this world. It's definitely part of the universe. And I'm trying to look at this thing, and then I just go, oh, okay. Oh, it's like a magnet and an amplifier. Oh, okay. Righto. So then I'm starting to think logically about it. And then it's like I am the machine, and now I'm like, yeah, okay. It's like I have this thing up my whole body is just this
yeah,
machine. It's not this thing in my chest. So a long-winded way of telling you a story, which is don't be blown away or daunted by what's in front of you. It starts with a single step. You'll receive the message when you're meant to receive it. You'll absorb what you're meant to absorb in your own capacity and time. Don't don't forget that chaos is happening around you, not to you. That's kind of what I know it sounds a bit convoluted, but that's the big thing that's coming through. Just be on your path, be safe and secure in it, take it in your own time. It's all going to be okay. And the chaos around you is not happening to you. Oh, okay. I know why that. Yeah, don't buy into all the other bullshit and all the other agendas and all the other rubbish that's going on at the moment. Actually, that came up in our thing, sovereignty. Remember, you're your own sovereignty.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you are with a bleeding heart, like I have been in my life, remember you can send love, you can send healing bubbles to people, and it's up to them whether they accept it. You can go put a whole big bubble around a city, a bubble around your loved ones. If you feel like, because I know in the past I've really empathized so hard with the plight of other people that I just manifest all kinds of drama and chaos around in my own life because I'm tapped into that pain so much. I'm like, well, how can I ever get paid enough money to do what I want to do when there are homeless people in the world? And I feel like the pain of them, and I'm trapped into that. And then I get into all these fighting fire with fire kind of mentalities, and I want to blame people, and I want to, victimize people as well. And that doesn't help, and like Esther Hicks Abrahams shared this before, that you cannot suffer enough to help another person. There is no amount of suffering that you can do that will help another person. All you can do is heal yourself and live in love and live in light as best as you can. And if you want to send that love or share that love or be a light for other people, you can do that. And it's up to them whether they accept it. And I've even asked the channeler before, I said, what's the best way to help other people? And she channeled by helping yourself. And, I used to really recoil and flinch at that, but it's like putting your own mask on first too, like how are you going to help anybody when you're like
Yep.
in your own mess and chaos and everything? And remember, like, you deserve to be helped. You deserve love and attention and respect and time. And to fill your own cup is also an act of love that's healing the planet. You help yourself just as you would want to heal somebody else. And that's an act of kindness and an act of morality and a virtuous act as well. You're allowed to do that. It's not cheating if you're helping yourself, which is hard to say. Like, even old ego Kelly wants to chime in and be like, but you don't deserve to exist. You're here to help others, not yourself. I'm just saying, like, no, I'm beyond that now. Like, I can see that
Yeah.
I'm allowed to
Well, if you
help
establish
me.
a solid foundation for yourself,
Mm,
then you can help more people. But not only that, you can act as a real beacon of light. You can be a proper role model. Now, I'm
mm,
not discounting all these amazing athletes and everything like that, but that just shows the disparity, right? Someone can bounce a ball or kick a ball or do something athletically very, very well. They seem to be paid huge amounts. Now, I'm not begrudging that, but here's the thing. In order for them to perfect their craft, they must focus on themselves. So
mm.
imagine if all us healers actually were allowed to focus on ourselves properly, the amazing things that we could do like these athletes do. And it's not being selfish, it's just being who you are and who you need to be.
Beautiful example, Laurie. And you make me think, yeah, like what if doctors, instead of studying how to do surgery and medicine, went out, helping all their friends and family and people on the street randomly, whatever. They never finished their studies. They never learned what they needed to learn so that they could be the only person in the world who can perform this type of heart surgery. So,
Mm,
we wouldn't have these people in the world if they didn't do what they needed to do for their track and their purpose.
correct. And we've all got a different purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are artistic and they create beauty, and we need more of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you shared that. I am feeling a little bit like I want to wrap this up with a message about what's coming and what people can do now. And I know we've already said love everybody and keep feeling into love and surrender to that. But for everybody who's heard that and it's like, okay, give me something practical, give me something specific. How do I action that even? Like, is there a way to move? I'd really like to tune into that and see if something's gonna come through. So I thought maybe we could both have a listen, Laurie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're telling. So we were planning a live call at some point.
Yeah.
So, oh, I know the theme will be what do I do next? And in that theme, it's like, okay, how about you start paying attention? And I'm not saying this in a brutal way. What if we started teaching these people how to interpret their dreams? Because if they can't hear messages like we hear, I can absolutely guarantee you there's only two, well, from my perspective, I should say, there's two forms of dreams. One is a message, and the other one is a purge. Now, you're going to have these weird dreams, especially every single client I have after I've done a healing with them, they have the weirdest dreams at night. There is no meaning to that dream. That is just the body processing, and the weirdest shit happens, and you just have these weird dreams. But there are another set of dreams that happen, and it's something that maybe we can play with. Is that some people in the audience, if they want to send through a message, I'm not interested in reading War and Peace. But if you want to just like quickly describe some stuff, we can do some dream interpretation because it's very symbolic. And it's rather ironic that I can do that because I had dyslexia as a child, right? So English, while I could speak it, was foreign to me almost. Words would jump on the page, things would be reversed and backwards and all sorts. And poetry was by far one of the things that I admired the most, but suffered immense pain trying to decode it. And yet now I decode messages, and there's a lot of simile and metaphor and all these wonderful things that you literary geniuses use all the time. So it is rather ironic. But I think if we taught some people through some examples, maybe, just start paying attention to your dreams. And then maybe we can teach them a bit of muscle test and go, does this dream mean ABC? No, it means one, two, three. Oh, okay. Well, and they can start interpreting things for themselves.
That sounds awesome too, because we were talking about imagination and what imagination even is. And so I feel like
Mm.
dreams are going to be a real potent, empowering entry point into that imaginal realm. Because people can't say, well, what if it's just my imagination making it up? It's like, well, maybe it is, but you didn't consciously choose to have this vision. The vision came to you in your unconscious. And so we can at least let go of the ego even more as we embrace that inner knowing and embrace those situations.
Yeah, it's no accident that some of the greatest cultures on this planet have dream time.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Absolutely.
meditation, whatever you want to call it. It's no coincidence.
So maybe that can be our homework before we go live then, Laurie. Ask people to just start paying attention to their dreams. And if there are so many ETs coming through,
Yeah.
and we're waiting for you in your dreams. Get ready to
Yeah.
meet some Arcturians, people. We're ready to meet some Greys and some Andromedans. They're all like, oh, good. They're going to pay attention to us now. Yep. So start paying attention to your dreams. And they're saying to me, ask to remember your dreams, ask to go into your dreams awake. That's what I'm hearing. Ask to go into your dreams awake. So I wonder if that means that people might be having some hypnagogic experiences, some lucid dreaming coming up. Ask to go into your dreams awake. Okay. There's your
Perfect.
homework, people. And then we're gonna
Yeah.
do some dream interpretation. I got really into dream analysis when I was a kid. Like I had all these books on it. I was super into it. Used to analyze all my friends' dreams at schools. But now I'm so like, just do not trust my analysis at all. Like everyone has their own symbols, right? So I'm sure I'm just going to be like channeling the analysis from them, but it'll be fun to see how we go.
We'll energetically hold each other's hands so that we can get it right. Because the pressure's on us now. I've really put us under it.
I love that so much. Thank you, Laurie. All right. Thank you so much. If you want to get in touch with Laurie, his website is Aligned Wisdom. I'm going to put it in the notes underneath. Thank you so, so much for being here today. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for sharing all of your love and talent. And again, you're just a true testament of how when we share our gifts, they just get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Like you are a living example of that. And we're so grateful to you, Laurie.
No, I appreciate it. No, and thank you. Remember, you're one of the key people that got me on this journey. So
Yeah,
appreciate the time. Appreciate the learning from you too.
I've got a sunburnt nose, and my partner called me Rudolph yesterday. And I was like, way shower.
Why not, right? I'm looking at your Christmas tree in the background with the red nose on it.
Yeah, my kid stuck this like we didn't have a star or an angel yet. My kid stuck that toy on top, and I was like, "All right, it's a cow sticking out of it." I don't know if you can see that. The cow head sticking out of this egg.
Brilliant. Just take what's around you, all right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a nice first memory of our Christmas all together.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie.
You're
Talk
welcome, mate.
soon. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. See you later.